everyone to the Outtakes Movie Podcast. I'm Sam, and we're still going on a quest to go through every single movie ever made and objectively rank them best to worst of all time. I'm joined, as always, by my amazing team. Amelia, how's things?
Hello, great. I'm in Mega City 1 reporting live.
Joe, what's going on, man? The bounce chair is back, I've noticed.
It is, yeah. It's got leaves on it now. See?
Ooh, leaves that have just found their way to your chair, or decorative leaves. Yeah.
No, yeah, they jumped into the window, I think.
Nice.
I don't know. It was like an operation at night. I don't know. They just walked up and they were there. So.
Over time, your entire flat is going to be reclaimed by nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice. For like poison ivy, except I'm a guy. So.
And Jacob, what's going on, man?
Hello, I'm here.
Nice, excellent. So, if you like what we do here at the Outtakes, consider giving us a like and a subscribe, or following us on your favourite podcasting apps. Alternatively, as well, you can follow us all over on social media, on Instagram and Twitter, and now even on TikTok. We are down with the youth by searching for The Real Outtakes. So this week, well, actually, no, before we start on this one, we have a little bit of admin to do. So Jacob has noticed that one of our previously listed scores was incorrect. Ooh. So Bill and Ted, which we listed as an 80 out of 100, actually is 82.5 out of 100. So it's surpassed La La Land. All that question and answering wasn't entirely worth it on that episode. So that movie just is better. But it is now on par with two other movies that it didn't get a chance to get a good wrestle with. So before we begin, I want to ask everyone, starting with Amelia, if you prefer... how has this happened? If you prefer Bill and Ted or Baby Driver?
Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted. Wow. Okay. Jacob.
I wasn't expecting that to go that way. Yeah, Baby Driver.
Baby Driver. Joe.
Yeah, Baby Driver. Yeah.
Baby Driver. I'm gonna say Baby Driver as well. There we are. It already hits the wall. Just so we've done it. Bill and Ted is the 8th greatest movie of all time.
Wow, 8. Not bad.
Yeah, it's still very commendable. So. This week, we are covering 2012's Dredd movie. Really interesting, cool little film. It was released in the 7th of September of that year. It had a previous release at San Diego Comic-Con in June, which was pretty cool. That
makes sense.
They released the whole movie.
Yeah. They released the whole movie, a first screening at Comic-Con, which is pretty rad as a marketing strategy.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
I mean, if you're going to release it anywhere, then, there's worse places to release it, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And then it came out properly in the UK on the 7th and later on the 28th in America. But we're going to focus on the 7th for our little release window pop culture look back-a-thon. And oh my god, the pop charts, they are bad.
Oh no.
I have 3 songs that I even recognize from the entirety of the top 40. Only 2 of them I like, only 1 of them I really like, and 1 of them I fucking hate. So, number 30, We Are Young by Fun, featuring Janelle Monáe. That's alright.
God. Remember that song, though? Jeez.
What? I mean...
Remember that song?
Yeah.
Oof.
A while ago.
I mean, it's not that much different than like a song like Pumped Up Kicks, though, It's pretty weird, it's pretty bad, but like... number 28, this is the one I genuinely like. Call Me Maybe, Kylie Ray.
Oh my god.
Oh.
I was just thinking, wait, when was Gangnam Style?
That was like
2012?
2015, wasn't it? Or 13,
No, it was not
It was
2015.
It wasn't 2015. As soon as I said it, I regretted it.
I think it would have been 2012, but I think it might have been later on in the year. And
good.
number 18, this is the highest ranking song that I even recognize, right? 18. And it's the worst piece of music ever fucking devised by man.
Ooh.
Payphone by Maroon 5.
I don't even know that one. What is that one?
Don't listen,
yeah,
don't,
you do.
don't
I'm
listen
at
to
a
it.
Oh, no.
You know it.
It's a music video where he robs a bank or something.
Yeah, where he thinks he's really cool. Yeah. No, he's a teller and someone robs the bank, but then he like fights off the guys and steals a car and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just finds himself at a payphone in the middle of a fucking desert and is like, oh, I'm at a payphone. There you go.
Only Maroon 5 could have a scenario where something that cool happens to them and the song is just being at the phone later on. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Bunch of losers. So over in the world of video games, we had 2 games come out on the 7th. One of them I'd never heard of before. It looks pretty cool. On Windows and Mac, a little indie game called Closure, which is a puzzle platformer where light is a big factor. So you walk into a level and only certain parts of the area are even lit up at all. The rest is total darkness. And you have to carry like little physics items that project light to find your way and navigate around the levels. Seems pretty cool. If that's your jam and you've not heard about it before, check out Closure on Steam. And the one I had heard of on XBLA, Xbox Live Arcade, remember that, Mark of the Ninja, which was, I think, part of their like Summer of Arcade things. Again, it's kind of indie, kind of puzzle platformer, but it's more about stealth and combat, and that's quite decent as well. And before moving on to the movie, I cannot believe I've never done this segment before, because it makes so much fucking sense.
Oh.
Let's see what Dredd was actually up against in the cinema.
Oh my god!
Why have I never done this before?
Like, jeez.
Right?
Box office battles, come on, let us know.
So, the same day Dredd was released, the In-Betweeners movie came out.
Oh wow.
Oh, what a film. Oh, wait, are you lot the one... Is it you lot who don't watch The In-Betweeners?
I've seen a couple of episodes.
I've
not
watched...
I've
seen all this TV show, and then I think I've seen this In-Betweeners movie 2, but not the first one.
I really hate this movie, guys.
Which one's the one where he gets hit with poo when he goes on a slide? Is that 2?
That's the second one.
I assume that's 2 because I've not seen it.
We had to watch those films and the TV shows with my kids, you know what I mean? Because, especially when we were in college, when we were the age that they were, it was the best thing. I don't know anyone else who doesn't love this show. It's ridiculous.
It's just me.
Weird.
It's
Well,
just
just all of you, just like
you know, right? Okay,
even just kind of half loving it's weird.
I didn't really like it going in. I saw this with a mate who loved it, and I felt pretty awkward in the cinema because I didn't really find it that funny. But then,
had you watched the TV show at this point?
I had seen a couple episodes. Yeah, I had any goodwill I could have had for the movie went away when I experienced one of the most awkward scenarios I've ever been in. Right. So I watched this movie twice, once in the cinema, once in RE class.
Oh, wow. You don't.
Right, so it was the time of the year where everyone gets to bring in DVDs and just have a bit of a watch of stuff. And someone somehow managed to convince the teacher to put this movie on. I do not know how they did. And I had to watch the scene where Jay masturbates with a piece of ham with my RE teacher and 30 other like pubescent awkward teens.
Oh, God.
That's fantastic. That's so
Did
funny.
we watch? I mean, mine's not quite as good as that one. We watched. Remember Grown Ups? Remember that one?
I watched that in geography.
We watched that in French.
Your school watched a lot of movies. I want to go.
Yeah. I know what did we watch in geography? Was it The Impossible? That one about the family that gets split up with the fucking
We watched that in geography.
thingy. We watched that in geography.
We watched that.
We also watched Benidorm in geography as well.
Oh no.
Yeah, I can
I
understand.
don't know why. Yeah.
It's because it's like Brits, like Spain. Is it Spain? Yeah.
It's Spain, yeah. Benidorm.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I suppose. But we weren't doing geography at the time. We weren't doing Spain at the time, though. That's the weird thing. We weren't doing anything related to Benidorm. I think we were doing about volcanoes or something. So, you know, I guess just wanted to watch bloody Benidorm or something.
Meanwhile, back in the cinemas, so In Between this movie came out on the 7th. On the 10th, I'm going to cover the entire kind of month worth of things that I recognise. On the 10th, Perks of Being a Wallflower came out. I don't imagine that ate into the Dredd audience, really. On the 14th, Resident Evil Retribution came out. Those movies have an audience all their own. They're bizarre, like consistently terrible, but everyone who goes to see them loves them because they are that. On the 28th, I reckon this is probably the biggest movie that came out in the month. Pitch Perfect came out. This would have like directly met Dredd in America as well. Like this would have been going head to head for Dredd's American release date, as well as Looper and Hotel Transylvania, which all came out on the same day.
Ah, big month.
Yeah, I imagine quite a lot of people were in the cinema. But how many of those people were there to see Dredd? If I give you the budget, do you want to try giving me the box office? So, the numbers I've gotten for the budget are a little bit weird. Wikipedia says somewhere between 30 to 45 million. That's such a massive gap, though, $15 million. We've seen entire movies made for less than $15 million that have been really good. That's a huge gap. I'm more willing to bet that the actual budget was closer to 45 than 30. So let's say 45 million. Who wants to take a stab at the box office?
I mean, I feel like I've read that the reason there isn't a sequel is because this one didn't do that good. So I'm going to say that they've probably not quite... They probably made the budget back now. But are we doing opening weekend or just in general?
What it made for its entire release.
I'm going to say about 60 mil.
60 mil?
Yeah, I was going to say 90 to 100.
I'd have spent about 100, maybe 100, 120.
You've all been very generous. Joe, you are the closest, but it only made 41 million, which means it technically lost $4 million.
Ouch.
Wow.
Now, you can put this up to a number of things. I do think as far as release windows go, in America, it was up against some pretty stiff competition. I don't know how directly the audiences would overlap, but I actually would imagine that the potential audience for an R-rated superhero flick and the potential moviegoers for the In-Betweeners movie probably did actually overlap quite a lot. And I imagine
America,
in this country, the In-Betweeners definitely would have won out.
100%. I can't imagine the In-Betweeners movie being that big in America because people, I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? Like, they tried to do it over there and it was an absolute fucking disaster.
Have you guys seen the clips from it?
Oh, yeah,
terrible.
It's horrific.
Way bad, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's so bad. But then that's what I mean, like, Americans don't really get the jokes in the In-Betweeners, so I can't imagine the film would have been that popular over there. So I feel like
Dredd was going up against Pitch Perfect over in America, wasn't it?
that would be the competition, probably. And probably Hotel Transylvania. I mean, no, maybe not Hotel Transylvania, because, I mean, you're not taking your kids to watch bloody Dredd, are you? So,
not really, no.
But it would have been Pitch Perfect, would have been the competitions, probably.
I think so, yeah.
Definitely.
And I think even the novelty of Looper probably captured some of that as well, rather than just a Judge Dredd movie, unfortunately. So yeah, this lost about $4 million approximately, which is why there has not been a sequel. Kyle Urban, though, the star of Dredd, was a big fan of this. Really liked working on it. Apparently, it's up to him the reason that Dredd had the helmet on the entire movie.
I read that, yeah.
Because studios wanted to be able to put the bankable Kyle Urban on their poster, and he was like, well, no, I'm fucking Judge Dredd. Like, that's not what he does, So which is pretty cool. I like that he's really into it. And he's been trying to campaign for some sort of sequel. This movie has become a bit of a cult classic since, like, home video releases. DVDs have made up a really huge... I can't find a number, but it's classified as a success now that the DVDs are out. But that doesn't really matter so much for studios. Lionsgate are not interested in releasing a direct sequel. However, in 2017, a TV show called Judge Dredd Mega City 1 was greenlit, and the last we heard, Kyle Urban was in talks to star in it. But I imagine it would be a bit of a contract negotiation between whoever's greenlit the TV show and Lionsgate, because technically Kyle Urban would be reprising a role that belongs to them, really. So... bit messy. Will it ever happen? Who knows? I hope it does. I think...
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
He's thing he was.
Sly Stallone.
I've not watched that one.
It's a fun movie. It's bad. Well, this is an interesting point I want to get to later, is a lot of people accuse that movie of being kind of like, it's a bad Judge Dredd movie, and it's a bad movie. But I will put it to you over the course of this that perhaps there isn't really an incorrect way to do Judge Dredd. It's a very malleable concept and idea and comic, so we'll see. Anyway, I would still like to see it. Kyle Urban's great, and also I think Judge Dredd would work better as a TV show potentially than just one movie.
Yeah.
This movie also has some weird production issues that also probably would prohibit potential sequels. So this was directed by a man called Pete Travis, local boy, was born in Salford Keys.
Oh wow!
But
that's where I am right now.
Only kinda.
Oh.
We don't know exactly what he did and didn't do. There's some reports saying that he wasn't allowed in the editing booth. Some reports saying he didn't want to be in the editing booth. Carl Urban has confirmed that the vast majority of the actual on-set directing and the editing was done by the screenwriter, Alex Garland, who after Dredd would go on to direct Ex Machina and Annihilation.
Didn't he also write Thingy, though, as well? I was looking, and isn't he currently writing the Halo movie? And
I think so, yes.
He also wrote the original... what game was it? Oh, it's a game. Is it Devil May Cry?
I don't think he would have written... He might have written DMC Devil May Cry, but I don't think he would have written...
Oh, no,
the original.
yeah, he did. That's what he wrote. That's what he wrote. He wrote that one. He wrote something else as well. I don't know.
I think you can see it. I don't really know what Pete Travis's style is, but after Ex Machina and Annihilation came out, you can see Alex Garland all over this movie.
Yeah. Didn't he also write the Thingy as well? Didn't he also write the novel that The Beach was based on? Is it The Beach? The thing with Leonardo DiCaprio? I'm pretty sure he wrote the novel for that. And that's how he became, like, in Hollywood. I don't know. I think he wrote the novel that that's based on. I don't know. He wrote a bunch of stuff.
But, as well, people have asked Alex Garland, when it came out, would you do a sequel? And apparently he said he's not really interested in doing a Dredd 2. So that's another thing that's potentially limited. Yeah, which is a shame. It's probably more to do with production issues there. I think the closest Lionsgate have come to addressing it is by saying that a unique cooperative agreement was reached early on in production, which sounds like a very diplomatic way of saying someone was fired or someone didn't want to work on something. You know what I mean? But as well, this movie, before it was picked up by Pete Travis or Alex Garland or whoever, was offered to Duncan Jones, the director of Moon and the Warcraft movie, but he turned it down after reading Alex Garland's script, not because he didn't like it, but because he has a unique vision for what Judge Dredd should be and would want to do that sort of thing. What would we think about Duncan Jones taking on something like Judge Dredd?
I mean, I didn't like Moon, so...
I've not seen it.
I've not seen Moon or Warcraft.
No, neither.
Have you seen Source Code? He did that as well.
That the one with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes.
On the train. I have seen that, and I enjoyed that one. I thought it was
I've not
good.
seen any of his movies.
I've not seen that for a while. Is he the one that did that? Is it Mute or something, the Netflix one? Was that him or was that someone else? I think that
Maybe.
was someone else, actually. No, I think it might have been him, because that was bad, if he did that. It was not good.
Duncan Jones is an interesting director to me. So Duncan Jones, for anyone who doesn't know, son of David Bowie. He really gets he really gets into the stuff that he works on. Like when he took on the Warcraft movie, he did it as a fan. And that movie's got a lot of problems, but you can tell he fucking loves Warcraft throughout it. Like if he wants to do Judge Dredd, it is gonna be like, because this is something I want to ask everyone. So what do we think of the actual look of Mega City 1 in this? I don't know how many people have like references to Judge Dredd as a comic book, but even if you don't, let me know what you think of the actual aesthetic.
It kind of looked like scaled down Blade Runner in the day, I suppose.
Does a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It felt, and it didn't feel cramped enough, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the blocks and stuff, there were still very clearly blocks, and the gaps where you could see buildings. I feel like if it was an apocalypse, you've compressed all these people into a small area, it would be far more crowded, way more just trash and rubbish on the streets everywhere.
Totally agree with you.
It was an odd vibe.
I could kind of see where the CGI was and what the real footage was.
Yeah.
Where, like, where they'd obviously filmed above, like, Chicago or New York or wherever, and then...
It was actually in South Africa, Johannesburg.
Really?
Yeah, but, like, consider that's also where, like, things like District 9 are filmed.
Yeah.
You can kind of see...
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, actually, when the bit where it showed, like, the slums and stuff, it gave me very District 9 vibes, so that makes sense. But, like, the actual city I could see, especially when that opening car chase, I could see them use the same location under that bridge about 5 times. he drives under and it's
Yeah.
kind of got the thing that curves around like that with the yellow light. I saw them drive past that about 5 times, and I get that the idea of it is that it's the city that, it's been built kind of like in a network, and it's meant to just be repeating stuff. But it's not a bad thing. It look cool, but I could see it.
It's one of these
because I'm a film guy, or I don't know.
I think they would have benefited from going in. I think a lot of the start of this movie is a bit of a waste, actual monetarily. I think you could have used a lot of the start of this movie in a better way. And I think one of them would just be setting up more just shots of Mega City 1. I've got in my hands a copy of Judge Dredd America, which is one of the only comics of his I actually own. I read some more as a kid, but I don't know where the fuck they've gone. This is a really good book. The sequels to it are a little bit iffy, but the actual book itself is really good. I'll do some describing for podcast listeners, but I'll also try and show you guys on the camera. So Mega City 1, for reference in the comics, looks a lot more like this. So it's this it's a kind of, it looks a lot more like Coruscant in some ways, but it's with rounded tops of buildings, but it is, like Jacob, you said, very, very cramped. It embraces its cyberpunky nature, but it's a very it's a literal vertical society where the stuff that is down here on the ground level is your slums and your poor areas, and up on the top that's where you got the lights and corporations, a lot like in Blade Runner.
Did you ever see Thingy? The artwork reminded me of. Did you ever see Thingy concept art for the original Blade Runner? Is it Sid Mead?
I think it's Sid Mead, yeah.
It's yellows and blues, and it's very curved and cramped and kind of that. The thing you showed me then reminds me a lot of his artwork for it, and that artwork is where a lot of this kind of cyberpunk kind of style comes from, because he's the one. I don't know, he didn't design it directly, but the stuff he did for Blade Runner was pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah,
and that's what it reminds me of. That's kind of what I'd expect it to be.
Yeah, see, because I feel like if someone like Duncan Jones took on a project like this, the actual Mega City 1 we get would be a lot more like that. Just from his previous films, that's the kind of thing that I would more expect to see. The other thing I want to touch on very briefly before we get into the start of the film is, what did people think of the soundtrack to this, if you thought anything at all?
I don't remember it.
Bassy, really bassy. I wasn't sure if it was just. I'll admit I wasn't watching it on Blu-ray, so a lot of it I couldn't tell if it was deliberately. It might have been stylistic about how saturated it was, and I get that it did look cool in some parts.
Yeah,
but I also couldn't tell if the music or the soundtrack had been bass boosted, because it was. Wow, fucking bassy. It was unbelievable. Explosions and music. It felt really heavy.
Yeah, there's a lot of the elements of sound design that are pretty cool in this, but the music, it's kind of it acts as this perpetual bass. I think it never really brings up something or elevates something. It's just there so it's not quiet. What it reminded me of, and what a lot of this movie reminded me of very frequently, was it reminded me of the video game soundtrack. This passive kind of ambient music that's always kind of dum 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 dum, kind of humming away in the background, and that made me think. I wonder if this guy who did the music, I wonder if he's worked in video games before. He has not. He's called Paul Leonard Morgan. He has an entire background in film and TV. However, he is going to be doing the music for Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh,
so not coming from video games, but probably from this to that game. I think it's a pretty direct connection.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out in a few months. Very excited for that. So yeah, the movie. So it starts out, you get a quick little overview of Mega City 1. It is unfortunately not as cramped as it should look, but it's still kind of cool. It's the typical cyberpunk scenario. Corporations rule the countries, which are now cities, and in order to regain control, you have the judges, hyper-authoritarian surveillance states, and they control everything. There's some elements to this movie that I wish it went a little bit harder in on, and I don't know why you wouldn't have done. Judge Dredd has always been kind of very satirical and cynical. It's pretty anti-cop. In fact, if I return to the comic briefly, it's a really nice juxtaposition. So this little bit of background. This comic, America, it serves as a bit of a turning point. When Judge Dredd was created, it was created by a British comic company called Rebellion as part of the magazine 2000 AD, which featured a bunch of miniature strips. You got about 6 pages maximum to tell your stories. So when he was created back in the 80s, it was kind of a bit more kid-friendly. Judge Dredd fights aliens, or Judge Dredd fights parody Dredds from the Death Dimension, or Judge Dredd fights mutants, and they're all unambiguously evil and whatever. We just move on with it. This comic was the first one which was actually like a full feature-length, well, not feature-length, but a full Judge Dredd comic of like 20 odd so pages, and it focused more on actual like statements about what this kind of society is like. So the first thing you see is Dredd. It's very much like the poster. So you see Dredd standing atop the American flag, looking all like resplendent. He makes some pretty dodgy comments about like what justice is, and makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. He says, rights, sure, I'm all for rights, but not at the expense of order. That's why I like that statue of judgment standing there, towering over liberty. And he pulls out to see him standing over a dead body covered in blood, statue of liberty behind him, and then a statue of a judge like 500 feet above that.
Good God.
That's the kind of imagery I wanted to see in this movie. That just
It's a lot darker, isn't it?
just showing a lot of tower blocks endlessly kind of loses some of the character that Mega City 1 has. It's very overt, the imagery in the comics, but I also think that's fine sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing like you were saying before about you wanted to see a bit more like of the cyberpunk kind of like, massive city with like huge kind of massive buildings where everyone's like cramped together and stuff. I feel like sometimes if you do that, it doesn't quite. I mean, it works, but right, for example, Altered Carbon, the TV show, it's a good show, but my issue with it was the city. It just looked like it was ripping off Blade Runner too much.
This is the problem with Blade Runner, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, this is the thing with Blade Runner is now, because Blade Runner was like the first thing, everyone loves the style of Blade Runner. And whenever someone does it like that, it looks... I don't like it. Like, when I'm watching Altered Carbon, it's really hard not to look at the city and think, oh, that's the city from Blade Runner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's... Whereas, like, when you look at, like, Cyberpunk 27... When you look at all the gameplay for that, they've done this kind of thing where it doesn't... I mean, we've not played it yet. We don't know what the city... But, like, the looking at it, they've kind of, instead of cramped it out with like miles and miles of buildings, they've kind of done it in like a small space. Kind of like how an actual city is, where they put all the kind of skyscrapers in the same spot. They've done that in that, and you just give it like a fresh look. And then you watch, I'm trying to think of other stuff that does it. But with this, if they would have done that, with like the massive kind of statues of judges and things like that, it would have given it that kind of different like look. Like, I wouldn't consider this a cyberpunk city, but when you look at the version of Gotham in Batman Forever, it is very cyberpunk-ish, but it's got these massive statues in it that make it kind of just... You wouldn't associate it with like a cyberpunk city because it's got these massive statues. And it's just little things like that change it, whereas Altered Carbon don't really do anything to change it. They just have the massive sky bridges and...
It's the kind of thing that would have lent it a bit more personality. Now, some credit where it's due. There is still some, like, like Dredd police brutality statements within this movie. Some of them subtle, some of them not. One of the things that I did like, which was quite subtle, was the first time you see the HQ for the judges. It's this big black like skyscraper with blacked out windows everywhere. It looks like a supervillain's HQ.
Yeah,
I appreciated that.
Yeah.
So at the start of the movie, Judge Dredd's in pursuit on his silly little bicycle. That was Kyle Urban on the bike as well. He demanded to be on the bike.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Wasn't it like a fully functioning version of his bike as well? Like, he built it from scratch. Yeah.
I wonder where that is now.
Oh God, I know, right? Yeah. He's chasing some perps who are driving while under the influence of narcotics. That's the first time we see this. The film's kind of visual gimmick, slow-mo, a drug which alters one's perception of time, which is rad. We'll talk about it a little bit more in the future. He chases them, he guns the van down, one of them escapes, which leads to one of the worst looking green screen standoffs in the food court that I have ever fucking seen. There's some really cool visuals in this movie, but oh my god, this was like this little bit in the food court where you could see where the like just the PNG layers were of the fucking like composition was like sub fan film level. Like, oh my god, what are you playing at?
There are a lot of the effects in this where they just sort of happened, and I was like, wait, what? Like a lot of the blood squibs.
Yeah.
They just looked like too thick almost for blood.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, there's something about it. It just, I don't know.
Like some of them were too red, and I get that it was a stylistic thing, but then there's other parts in the movie where they're realistic red. And then there's bits where it's the, like, bright red, like, bloody sparkling red. And it's... and, like, not even the bits where they're high and it's purposely meant to be, like, oversaturated. It was just normal and the blood was just there and it was just red, like, really red. And I was like, right, great, amazing.
I feel like there's a lot of times where, like... And maybe that's the kind of two directors' problem that aren't really cooperating, more just butting in on each other. It's unfortunate, but I do think that the intro to this, it's like I said at the start, we've seen movies made for less than this movie's budget that have been really good movies, and this intro to me feels like a massive mishandling of the budget. We don't really learn anything about Dredd or the mega city or the judges. It's just a kind of okay motorbike van chase for a bit. It introduces the slow-mo thing, which that's important, but that's like the one element that's important. Everything else was a lot of money spent for not a lot of actual value, which is a bit of a shame, really.
Especially when we've already had a Dredd movie. Like some audiences who would be old enough to watch this at the time probably have already heard, if not seen, some of the old Dredds. They know roughly what's going on. But for a lot of new people coming in, they need that explanation. I got throughout this a lot of RoboCop vibes.
Yes. Yeah. A lot.
Heavy RoboCop vibes, which is fine. Good movie to base your stuff off. They're quite similar, both, like, you can't see their face, doing justice or whatever. But, at the start of this, it was... While I don't think we learned much about the actual story, it very much set up this is one of those sorts of movies. You've got this guy, he just does justice. He's got, like, badly shaven, always looks angry. He just, it set up that sort of idea and story, but if you didn't know that's what you were after, it was a bit...
I think it's things that, like, the movie doesn't go out of its way to show other aspects of Dredd's character in the movie anyway, so you pick all that stuff up as you go through it, you know?
Yeah.
Apparently, I love this. Apparently, because Carl Urban not only insisted on keeping the movie on, the helmet on throughout the movie, he did it throughout all of shooting. So between takes, he wouldn't take the helmet off; he'd just stay there. And apparently, he would continue to grimace the entire time. He did not like smile or laugh or anything.
Ow! That sounds achy.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Because he's really going for it. Like one of the stories from set apparently is that some member of crew did something that set off the entire like crew and cast laughing, and apparently Carl Urban remained stony-faced and just looked at them with the Dredd expression.
Wow. That would make you laugh more.
That's amazing.
So that just kind of, the start just kind of happens, and it's all right. We start off kind of properly by meeting Judge Anderson. She's someone from the comics. In the comics, her counterpart is part of an entire division full of psychic judges. This movie kind of sets up in a different way, where the judges don't typically deal with mutants and stuff, but they see value in her powers. But there's a whole side division that she's a part of. And I don't know much about her, to be honest with you, but from things that I've seen from comics from the 90s, she's strong, confident, independent woman with massive wabos because it was the 90s. So she's on like assessment from Dredd. So meanwhile, in one of the mega blocks, Lena Headey's character, Mama, I think she does a great job in
She's
this.
so good.
She is what's the she's got these three guys. What was it? Were they like caught selling the slow-mo or something? I can't remember why she's like tortured them.
This is one of the things that I think the film could have benefited from, right? I feel like that opening scene would have benefited the story if the three people he were chasing, I don't know, maybe didn't get away, because then if he got away, it defeats the whole purpose that he's just thingy killing machine, whatever.
Yeah.
But it would have benefited from the opening scene being linked to this. You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
Like, if there's like a chase scene with maybe two vans, or there's more people in the van, and it's got something to do with the distribution. Maybe Judge Dredd, kills maybe three of them, gets three of them, but then three get away. And then it's kind of like, I don't know, he kills one of them, and the reason they're being punished is because he allowed a judge to do whatever. I feel like that would have been, it would have helped the story more, because I agree. I don't know why she kills these three men. It tells us, but I'd rather, it'd be, I don't want to say obvious, but it'd be more linked to the opening scene. Yeah,
because you're still setting up. We're still going. We haven't really even hit the inciting incident yet. I think it's good to be clear during these sections. So she's got these three guys, reasons unknown. She's not happy with them and orders them to be chucked off of the balcony. As extra punishment, she doses them up with the slow-mo, so they'll feel every fucking second of the fall. And they splat in gratuitous, gory fashion. It's good fun. I like it. So that's three homicides that have the potential to be picked up, and Anderson, while on assessment, she picks them for her and Dredd to go and investigate. So when we're there, we reach our first kind of themic element of the movie, which is so Dredd asks Anderson why she wants to be a judge. She says, I want to make a difference. He mocks her for it. She's the sort of person who knows what it's like with the slums and knows that people are people and it's not really their fault and you can always make these places better. But Dredd believes in the system too much and he's like, nah, there's no saving these people. They are scum. We're here to do justice. I like having a character that's very ambiguous about whether or not he's really a good guy. There's a lot of times that Judge Dredd is just a bad guy,
He's a dick.
Particularly towards the end of this movie. And I'm a fan of that. And there's some stuff that I'm going to bring up later on where I wish they'd have gone harder on it, because I think it would have been interesting. And I feel like there's a couple of instances where I can see the boardroom that went, well, no, Judge Dredd can't do that. He's the hero of the movie. He can't do that. This is silly. And
he's not even a hero, that's the thing, isn't it?
He's not at all, yeah.
He really is meant to just be a dick. I can't imagine him being nice, oh, go on, I'll let you off this one time.
I mean, there's I want to talk a little bit as well about the other part of Judge Dredd media that I've come into contact with. So there was a game released in 2003, a first-person shooter called Dredd versus Death, which is really cool. It came out a little bit too late. By the time it had come out, Halo and COD were already out, and FPSs had kind of changed, and this one's structured a lot more like Duke Nukem and Wolfenstein. But it is very fucking funny at the start, right? So there's a bunch of anti-judge protesters outside the Judge HQ. You are asked to go and deal with them, and you you have a button. The E key is stop, criminal scum. Put it down, perp, on your knees. Every time you hit the E key, he says something different like that, right? And you have to say it to them repeatedly until they put their sign down, and then you hit F to arrest them. And when you arrest them, you get a full list of who they are, what crimes they committed, and how long they're getting in the ISO cubes. And some of these people are getting life just for protesting. I swear, it's insane. And it just kind of keeps it up. And yeah, it's not something the game keeps up the whole way through. It starts to play with the multi-dimensional dark judges and stuff, because they know that it would get to be a bit of a drag if you just went around giving people life imprisonment for minor crimes. You start to feel bad. But it's a really funny game, particularly at the start. As side tangent, right? Joe, I know you introduced me to it, but has anyone seen on YouTube a Half-Life roleplay called Half-Life in VR, but the AI is self-aware?
No, but I feel like I've heard you guys talk about it.
It's
very good,
very fucking funny, and I would definitely recommend it. And the whole point is, so there's players playing the NPCs in Half-Life, but it's like they're defective AI. So sometimes they'll say things to Gordon Freeman, like, the kind of weird sentences that AI come up with. They're not really in the scene. They're just there to be like, look, Gordon, a health pack. Look, that kind of thing. And then sometimes they'll actually talk in normal sentences. The actual AI in this Judge Dredd game is exactly programmed in that way. So there's a bit where all these vampires start like showing up, right? And attacking people. And I'm running around and shooting vampires. And I heard an NPC like just over here somewhere be like, vampires! And then I happened to look at him and I was a bit too close to him and he went, hi, officer, how are you? It's fucking amazing. So yeah, they go to this block to investigate the homicides, and what happens is they find out about the Marmar clan, and they've completely taken over this mega block, and basically Dredd is like, right, we need to go up and we need to deal with these. Up there is the person responsible for the homicides. We need to go up and deal with them. So they find this little area where a bunch of the distribution is happening within the block, and they go in there and shoot the fucking room up while half the people there are on the slow-mo. And that's where we get the kind of gimmick of the movie of bullets passing through people's stomachs and exploding through people's faces. I'm assuming we like this as a style.
I liked it,
It is cool. I mean, you can tell that it's been done in like 2012, because obviously, like, the CGI and all that does let this film down, but, like, I don't care because of how cool it looks, which is, like, why if they were to do another one, I feel like it could be good. Like, I feel like they could really, like, make it... I don't know how to explain it, but, yeah, I think it's awesome as well. Cool.
Yeah. Totally agree. I totally agree. So... after they've done murdering enough people, they find out one of the people in there is part of Marmar's clan, and they take him in as a perp. Marmar sees them do this and gets the awkward teenage years of General Hux to lock down the building. Domhnall Gleeson, he's great in this, and he really does. It does just feel like Hux, but if Kylo Ren was a little bit meaner to him. This is exactly how...
It's about time he showed up in something else. Tell me you got a joke, because he was in the film About Time.
Ew, the time travelers. Yep. Wife, girl, was it that one?
No, he was in the movie. Was called About Time.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
That's why I'm saying it's about time.
God, I'm a bit slow, aren't I?
Cut that out.
Staying in.
Totally keep that in.
So he orders lockdown, and Marmar gives a speech to let everyone know what the deal is. So she says that if J equals the amount of judges and T equals the time that the judges are there, then L equals the amount of time that lockdown we will be in. So we're currently at level 5 lockdown, and if they can get the judges, then we'll enter the kind of mild lemon and herb flavor lockdown.
Oh, I just got what you meant. I was like, wait, what?
That joke's going to age tremendously.
I was going to say, that's not a joke that's going to land in, like, a year, maybe. But it will for all of us, so it's fine.
If it's still landing in a year, then...
God.
There's something going on.
Save us.
So she basically tells everyone, I want those judges dead. So everyone in the block now is a potential threat, and this, as a setup, is fucking awesome. This is a really good fucking idea for a movie. However, I think it's an even better idea for a video game. The whole time I was thinking, like, a kind of like Arkham-style FPS Judge Dredd game where everyone is a potential threat. And from as soon as I had this thought, almost everything in the movie felt like some kind of video game level or style or genre, and it just like kept reoccurring to me throughout the whole thing. And
have you ever... Has anyone ever watched The Raid?
I was about to ask about
No.
I've not seen The Raid.
I want to see
Watch
that.
The Raid. It's
a very similar concept,
Yeah.
Is that's not the one with John Boyega, is it? Is that Attack the Block?
No,
that's very different movies.
Different.
Oh, yeah.
The Raid, it's a Korean movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it
foreign,
made... I don't know if it is. I know it's set
I don't think it is Korean, you know.
No, because the guy who directed it is one of the guys who directed that new Gangs of London. That new Sky.
Got a
TV show.
feeling it's South American or something.
Is it South American?
Maybe.
Like that,
No, Indonesian.
Oh, fair dues.
Yeah. I know one of the guy who directed it is he's one of the guys who created that Gangs of London for Sky, because you can really tell when you watch, because the whole thing with the Raid is that it's like proper fight scenes. The fight scenes are proper intense and they're pretty amazing, and you can see it when you watch Gangs of London, because the fight scenes in that are like mad. Like they're just kind of like gritty, and people getting fucking stabbed into fucking nails in the walls and bottles cutting people. It's bloody insane. But it's a very similar concept about, I'm pretty sure, isn't it about like a SWAT team going into like a
SWAT team go in to bust this drug lord, I'm pretty sure, who again live on the top floor of this block of flats, and they get everyone in the flat to like, if you don't stop this SWAT team getting from us, we'll kill all your family or whatever. And
but it's basically the same concept.
It's very similar, and it ends up being just one or two guys at the end, because the rest of the SWAT team get pretty much annihilated. But there's this one, like the main guy is just brutal at murdering people. It's fantastic.
There's like a corridor scene, isn't there, where he goes through and just massacres them to get out. It's so good.
Fantastic.
Oh, I've seen the corridor scene.
It's
I'm pretty
fantastic.
sure.
It
It's
ends
amazing.
where do I spoil it? Yeah, I might.
Yeah, go on.
Door, and the door gets like, he kicks one through the door to begin with. So there's just like splinters, like the bottom half of a door, like all jaggedy sticking up the bottom from where it's broken. So he ends up killing someone by like smashing them down onto like this wooden splintered door. Ooh. And it's brutal and gorgeous. Beautiful.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
That's a new.
It's a weird one, because it's one of the few films where the sequel, it's like Back to the Future, the sequel takes place like immediately after the first film ends as well.
I haven't seen the sequel yet.
I mean, I've not seen it either, but I've been told that the sequel literally ends like minutes before the last film ended. No,
Sweet.
The sequel starts minutes, maybe even at the same time that the first one ended. I think that's what I've been told, but yeah, it's the first one's a very similar concept to this. It's insane.
Sweet.
Fair dues. I think it came out first as well, the Raid.
I think it did, yeah. Not that much longer. Oh no, I don't know.
It might have been enough time. I mean, look, if you're going to crib from something that's received well, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, the judges are making their way with the perp up the building. They end up in this like shootout moment where there's a bunch of guys there and they're mocking each other. The judge is like, "I'll give you 10 seconds to come out." The guy's like, "I'll give you 5." And Judge Dredd's like, "That makes it easy then. Bye." He sets off a flashbang and they fucking gun them all down. Except one guy survives and is looking up, and Anderson's hesitating. And now I want everyone to like keep this in mind, because this represents to me like what should have been a really cool thematic thing, and it's kind of let down by something else later. So Judge Dredd says, what are you waiting for? The charge is attempted murder of judges. The sentence is death. So she hesitates and then kills him. And I think that black and white morality, it's really interesting. I kind of want Dredd to be like a really cool character piece about Judge Dredd. It's kind of not. And that, to me, is like a scene that should have had like way more weight. That realistically, the broader picture, everyone in this block is a victim of Mama, really. They're all scared shitless of her and what they're going to do. So you should be able to see that they're just as much victims, but he does not. He's like, nah, attempted murder of a judge, black and white, doesn't matter, the sentence is always death. But Anderson sees it a slightly different way, and she finds it harder. As they're going around, they make their way into a one-woman's apartment. She's called Kathy, and she ends up being the wife of the man that Anderson just had to put down. Makes her feel pretty bad. Kathy lets them know about a service elevator where they can hopefully get out. So, as they're making their way through, Mama starts locking down like different areas of the block, so they have to like travel in a very particular way, and she sets up a Gatling gun trap for Dredd as they get split up, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
It is.
There's like 6 Gatling guns just mowing down a fucking quarter of this block. Everything's getting destroyed. And Judge Dredd is holding down left stick to sprint. And then as the fire gets more intense, he holds down B to go into a prone position.
He does.
It really does.
I can tell that you've been thinking of video games all the way
It really feels like a video game segment. Watch out, Dredd. Bullets will do damage. That's what it feels like, you know? So, eventually, Dredd fires a high explosive shot into a wall, blows it up, manages to get away out of there. So they escape and they call in for backup. Meanwhile, after the Gatling guns have sort of died down, she sends like teams to search for the judges. And Dredd and Mama have their first face-to-face encounter where Dredd emerges from the smoke carrying her main bodyguard and just yeets him off the balcony before silently like returning into the smoke. Doesn't even look at her twice.
He's like such a Batman like wannabe.
It is, yes.
Man.
Apparently there was like a Judge Dredd Batman crossover comic, and I hear
I would be
it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I've heard that it's not great, but like I can imagine that the two of them are like, yo.
I think they would not get on though, kind of like the way that Thor and Star-Lord don't get on in Infinity War.
It's too similar.
I feel like they would have the same opinions, but they wouldn't want to admit that they have the same opinions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like, we can find out because you can read it, I guess. But it's like, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's really weird when they mix things up. But some of them are good, some of them aren't. Like when they mix Batman and Alien.
I want to say there's been loads of those, haven't there? Like,
are we forgetting?
Terminator.
Yeah, he fights Terminator, he fights
We're forgetting
Predator.
the main one. Batman and Scooby-Doo.
Batman and Scooby-Doo? I mean, they were good.
I used to think, that show, right, where he was on, where it was the Scooby-Doo show, wasn't it? But it was the one where they'd have a different celebrity every week. I would watch it pure waiting for the one where Batman and Robin were on it. And the day I finally got to watch it again, I was like, beautiful. It's amazing. It was on before school, and I made my mum like wait so I could finish watching it. It's beautiful.
Nice.
What a time that was.
So they've called him back up. Meanwhile, they find a little safe space, and Anderson interrogates the perp with her mind powers, and her and the perp engage in a bizarre mind fight sex scene.
Oh, this bit's well weird.
Yeah. So, quick breakdown. He realizes that he's not cuffed in his mind, but is stupid enough to think that pulling a fake gun in his head is enough to kill her. It doesn't work, so he's like, well, no worries then. I'll imagine having sex with you. So she's now naked and going down on him. But then she's like, psych, bitch. And when he looks down, it's now Mama, and she's just bit his dick off.
I hate it.
It's, I felt like they could have done more with that. I like it, but
it was quite fun. I think you could have played a lot with Anderson's kind of mind powers, and there's clearly times in a scene where she's doing it, but you don't get to see it. Like you just see her eyes tracking a lot, and you can tell that she's searching through someone's head. It's a shame that you don't get to see it more. She makes him piss his pants, but while pissing his pants, he has given away the information that they need to get to Mama. So, backup arrives, and they are fucking useless. These two idiot guards. Backup was called in because one of our judges is definitely about to die, and the operator literally told him to survive, so I know that what's going on in there is serious, and Hux is like, no, we just had a fire and the doors were a bit sticky, oopsie whoopsie, and they're like, well, okay, citizen, you fix those doors. What a bunch of fucking clowns. So,
saying that though, right? Could they not have just got a helicopter to come pick them up off that fucking...
Yeah, you'd think.
Thing? Like, this is the fucking city of the future or whatever. There was quite literally something flying in that shot as they were, like, in the establishing shot of the thing. Could they not have just sent a bloody helicopter? Problem solved. Everyone's happy.
Backup was 2 more guys. That's all that backup was.
Yeah.
Just 2 more. We've got,
Insane.
someone's being shot at. Just send 2 more.
It's alright. The entire thing's on lockdown trying to kill us. It's fine. We'll send a couple extra guys.
If Dredd had been, like, a bit more vague about what was going on, it might have been fine. Like, he was speaking in code or something like, operator, the salt is not on the fries. You know, maybe then you only send in a couple, but... Like,
yeah.
But he very directly just said, like, shit's going down. It's a 1048. Please, I need help. Yeah. And it's Judge Dredd calling in help as well. Like, he's a well-known figure within this universe. Yeah. So, back in the block, they're making their way up, and these two kids threaten Dredd with guns. They're chasing him, they threaten him. He mocks them, and without noticing, the perp breaks free and takes Anderson hostage. In the panic, the kids shoot at Dredd, and he chooses to stun them. Now, this is why I wanted you to have that scene in from earlier in your heads. I think it's really interesting in the universe that he stuns these kids. Because the charge is attempted murder of judges. The sentence is death.
Yeah, it would have been, Like you say, the producers have gone, now we ain't shooting kids.
Yeah.
We can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I don't know much about this universe, but do they have a difference between, juvie and the rest of other sentences?
They do have juvie, they have ISO cubes specifically for juves and stuff, but this is still attempted murder of judges.
That's
right?
true.
That's quite severe.
That's a pretty big crime.
So, now I think it's interesting, if you want to try and forget about the boardroom that clearly didn't want Judge Dredd to kill some kids, I think it's really interesting, the idea that there is lines that even he won't cross, and I would like to explore them, but the movie isn't really interested in exploring them. It's just kind of interested in its cool action scenes. And it is a cool action movie, but it could have been so much more. Which is a bit of, I think, especially when you call something Dredd, and maybe they only did it just to get away from the stink of the previous Judge Dredd movie, but I feel like in the vein of calling things The Dark Knight or Joker, where you just use a synonym or just one name, I kind of do expect something that's a bit more character analytical and stuff, and it's a shame that this isn't what this is. The moral upstanding Dredd, who will not kill two kids, does later burn several people alive for shits and giggles. Incendiary ammo. And that's really cool as well, but my god, is it harsh. And in response to that, Marmar calls in her own group of corrupt judges. I thought this was a really cool addition. I don't think you got as much out of the corrupt judges as you could have done, but the idea that that even in this hyper-authoritarian world, you're still going to have judges on criminals' payrolls. It's quite good fun.
Yeah.
So when they're in there, Judge Chan is the first to find Dredd. Dredd immediately suspects something's wrong and collapses Chan's throats for his troubles, which again, that's very visceral and real, and but it was cool. So the rest of the judges continue to search for Dredd. Meanwhile, the perp threatens to kill Anderson after she's been taken hostage. But he earns himself a massive fuck-off hole in his hand because he tries to do it with the lawmaker, and they blow the fuck up if anyone but a judge tries to use them, which I think is a really cool part of this universe.
I think that's really cool.
Definitely, yeah. We should have that in real life. Could you imagine?
Jesus. She escapes after that and starts fighting her way through. The female judge is made aware that she's escaped, so she's the one that goes off to fight her. Time for a cat fight! Judge in.
Only girls
I've got to comment on something here, right? When they go in, doesn't she? That line that she says, right, about how she'll see me and she'll hesitate and I'll kill her.
I've got this written down.
Good line.
Wait, are you being serious? Do you actually think it's a good line, taking the piss?
I thought it was, it was a good concept, right? If it's, she said, I'll shoot her as soon as I see her. I was like, oh, okay. And if she sees me, she'll hesitate, and then I'll shoot her. I was like, okay, if that happens, as it happens, good, way of putting that out there. See, that's not what she does.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not. No, but my issue isn't with that, though. My issue is with the line. It's not. It's a shit. It's a shit line. She goes on for too long. Right. The line would have been fine if she'd gone something like, she'll hesitate, I won't, or something like that. But she's like, she'll if I was you, she wouldn't hesitate. But I'm me, so she'll hesitate, I won't hesitate. It's like, shut the fuck up and go get her.
It's
You're
like
too long.
Is it Roxy in Scott Pilgrim who always tries to say cool lines but flubs them at the last minute? That's kind of what it's like.
It's like it was meant to be that kind of cool thing, but it's too long. She could have said the exact same thing in a much cooler way in 5 less words. And it just kind of ruined the moment for me. And then obviously, as we know, she then doesn't do anything that she says.
Exactly.
She does hesitate.
So stupid.
When they do meet, instead of just gunning her down, she's like, wait a minute, rookie, I'm your friend. And then she gets shot instead and doesn't do what she says.
So she does fucking
Ding!
hesitate.
What an idiot.
Can we have all of CinemaSins' subscribers now that we point out little plot holes like that?
There we go. Same.
I felt there were a lot in this movie. I'm just saying. Because you know how she was... she demonstrated earlier on, the psychic one, Anderson, that she can sense how many people are like on the other side of a wall. Or she can tell the name of someone on the other side of a door.
Yeah.
So when... You would have thought, if she's going down some corridors, put with her gun up, waiting for someone to come up at her, she'd be using her powers to, like, see who's round corners and see what their intentions are. Because then she would have known if a judge was coming round the corner that it wasn't actually someone on her side and would have shot her straight away.
Yeah.
As it is, we have to get the bit where she pauses, then uses her powers, and then shoot her, so the other bad judge has to hesitate for a bit. Like, we know she can do that. Just have her utilise that ability again. But, nah.
Do you reckon, right? When she uses her powers, do you reckon she sees it like as a video game? So, like, the world goes blue. She can see the outline of people, and the good guys are
hold
blue.
RB to use telepathic powers.
Yeah, the good guys are blue and the bad guys light up red. Do you reckon that's how it works?
Yeah,
and
like,
if you can't decide, it's
like
orange.
Detective Vision in the Arkham games.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. That's how she sees the world, like, bloody all the time. And then that's what she's doing if she's singing. It's like in, when she's hacking into someone's mind, it's like in Watch Dogs. She'll get, like, a line directed from her brain to the person's brain, and she has to hack them. But, like, depending on what level they are, it takes a bit longer to hack other people than it does to, hack normal people, so... There you go. We're basically creating a bloody Judge Dredd game here, so let's get on it.
Let's just send this entire podcast to, like, fucking who would make a good Judge Dredd game? Who makes really good first-person shooters? id. I send this to id Software. This is our pitch for the Judge Dredd video game.
Just send them the movie.
Yeah.
That would do.
But I want to work on it. They've got to know that it's our idea.
Can we be like NPCs
Wow.
Yeah.
that have like
You
those
can
really
walk past.
shitty like?
Hello, Dredd. Pulling your trigger causes the gun to fire. That's what I want my line to be.
I just want to be ominous woman scream in the distance.
I want to be a thing. I want to be like a merchant or something that you have to go to buy ammo from. But I say things to him that has absolutely nothing to do it. So like the player will select the button to refill their ammo, and I'll say something like, "That's a cool helmet, Dredd. Where do you think I could get one?" And that would be it. But there would be no option to sell the helmet in the game. And it's like I'll just be stood there like that. Like fucking goggles on or something. That'd be me.
Oh my god, I love it. I want that so badly.
Same.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
So yeah, the other two judges find Dredd in the narcotics factory, and they more or less just continue to say that they all live in a society for a while until they decide to start shooting. Dredd runs out of normal ammo. Dredd, use the scroll wheel to change your ammo types. Dredd has one explosive shot left, so he fires it right into someone's head and it explodes. It's cool.
Fucking
Nice.
cool.
The one remaining judge uses their armor-piercing shot to shoot Dredd in the stomach, and then the fucking idiot mocks Dredd for getting shot while falling for the buying for time wait trick. Luke, what the fuck?
See,
I don't see how
again,
Dredd didn't have his ammo here either. It's only after he survives this bit they're like, right, reload, and they get all the ammo off the dead judges they've just killed. He killed a judge earlier on by chopping them in the throat. I was like, right, get his gun, take his ammo. Nah. I guess, yeah, it was cool because we got to see someone's head explode. But, what?
I've
There's
got to
ammo
say though,
there.
right?
That's the one inconsistency in video games. Well, no, if this isn't a video game, it proves it's not. Because you would have gone over and got that ammo.
Yeah,
You would have automatically picked it up.
I just got looting bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always what you do. But
See, this scene also suffers from another really bad line that could have been really cool. Like, when he says, doesn't he, like, what am I waiting for? And then she shoots him. And then he goes, waiting for her to shoot you or something.
Yeah.
It's too many words.
Yeah.
Again.
You should have just said her or that.
Oh, yeah. You wait for her. Oh, yeah, that. But no, it's like, for her to shoot you. Oh, Christ, shut up.
That one was,
like,
for me, that one was
too
more
many
noticeable.
words. Like, my God, you know what I mean? These people are meant to be like bloody action heroes or whatever, but my God, they've got terrible one-liners. It's meant to be one line, not bloody paragraph, you know what I mean?
Except there's one time in the movie where Dredd says so little that it's comically bad. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. So, like you say, Anderson guns down Judge Lex and kills him. And then, look, Dredd, a med kit on your belt. You can use it to heal wounds and regain HP. So he does.
Like in Far Cry, where you like snap your finger back into place and it's perfectly fine again. Or you pull a bullet out your arm and it's, oh, I'm fine again. Whoop, 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 whoop. That's what it's like.
And he is as well. He's totally fucking okay.
Yeah. In a later scene, he then uses his body to push open a door. So, you know, he must be fine.
So they find General Hux hiding in amongst the server wires. Anderson reads his mind and sees that Mama just tortures him and replaced his eyes, which is all kinds of grim. Takes sympathy on him, sees him as a victim, and lets him go. And this is kind of the thing where, like, you know, Dredd questions are on it, and this could be another really, really strong thematic thing. Like, she says, look, it's fine. I failed my test anyway. I dropped my primary weapon. Forget about it. I'm still dispensing justice. I'm still on the job. What I did was a good thing. And he kind of looks at her, and it's kind of like maybe he's had a realignment. Maybe he's realized that his sense of justice is misplaced and misguided, which would have been really strong if he hadn't spared those kids earlier. Because clearly he already has lines, you know, that he won't cross. And but regardless, they have this confrontation with Mama. So Mama wires a bomb to her wrist that's tracking her heartbeat. If her heartbeat stops and the entire building goes off in an attempt to try and blackmail Dredd into not shooting her, Dredd's like, what makes you think I have to shoot you in your head, fucking idiot? Boom, in your stomach, takes it down. And it's like, okay, this thing probably has a signal that probably can't reach up here if you're down there. So I'm gonna chuck you. Oops. Moral, upstanding, good guy that I am. I'm gonna fucking hit you with a slow-mo before pushing you off. Lol. Pushes her.
Yeet!
There's the fucking great bit where, like, you get her POV as she's looking back, and he's, like, just finishing, like, pushing her, but his hand's here, and it's just so they can lower it and move away. But I really thought he was gonna go and wave goodbye to her.
You would though, wouldn't you? Like, in a real situation, like.
We get a POV ground shot of Lena Headey's face breaking open, which is, lovely. Thanks. Thanks for that. I see it every time I shut my eyes. And Judge Dredd has this incredible moment to comment on the horrors and everything that he's witnessed on this journey and what he's just done to this woman. And he simply says, yeah. What's up? This was the time for more words, my man. Either no words or more words. You can't just say yeah.
Yee.
So yeah, it's, you know, things get wrapped up. The rest of the Judge Division comes in for cleanup. Dredd passes Anderson, but it doesn't matter. She doesn't care. She gives him his badge. She walks off, and that's more or less the end of the movie. It's kind of just left like things are a bit bad, isn't it? Because the Judge Dredd world can't have things that are happy. So that was Dredd 2012. What we're going to do now is we're going to go round in a circle and give any final thoughts we have on the movie and each give it a score out of 10. Then I'm going to use maths to work out where it ranks on our list of the objective list of best to worst movies of all time. Amelia, start us off.
Yeah, so I watched this film, I think, for the first time about a year ago. Like I said, it's my boyfriend's one of his favourite films. He loves this character, and I think this film, I think it's good. It's definitely, you can tell, the CG's not aged great, but at the end of the day, I think it was cool. It's a cool action film. If you want to see some cool shots, stick this on. Like we've said, it could be improved in places, but what film can't be improved. It's just one of them. And I really don't know what to score this film, and you're going to hate me, but I'm going to give it an 8.
8. Verdi's? Jacob.
Yeah, I feel like I like the character of Dredd. I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with him. Whether you make this movie with him, probably not. I feel like if you were to take Dredd out of this movie completely and just say, here's a movie where you've got, it's a dystopian future, couple of cops go into a building, it goes into lockdown, they've got to fight their way out from drug dealers or whatever. That's what this movie is. It doesn't need Dredd's name attached at all. You're right, it does feel very video gamey. I almost want to say this is, if you want to watch a first-person shooter video game movie, that's kind of what this is.
Yeah.
Better than fucking Doom, anyway. We'll get to that one at some point. Christ. But, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that other films have done better than this one. So, like, a Lockdown in a Tower film, there's The Raid. Personally, semi-emotionless man with half his face covered behind a helmet, RoboCop. But if you want to watch a good video game movie that isn't based on a video game, I guess you can watch this one. I think I'm going to give it a 6.
6. Joe?
I'm gonna say a lot of my points are very similar to Jacob's. Like, it's a good film. It's something I enjoy, and if they made others, I would be very excited to watch them. But yeah, it doesn't. You could just take Judge Dredd out, and it would be something else. You could add anyone else. You know what I mean? You could add fucking Batman to this story, and it would be the exact same.
Realistically, yeah.
And, you know what I mean? You could add anyone. If you're going to make something based on someone... See, this storyline, right? It would be really good. It's like when we watched Free Fire, and I said that film would be good as an episode of a series, but not as a full film. It's a similar thing here. This would be a really good pilot to a Judge Dredd episode.
Yeah.
To a Judge Dredd series. Because the thing I do like about this is at the end, how everything... This is like a day in the life of Judge Dredd, you know what I mean? This isn't like some huge event that changes his whole life, you know what I mean? He just walks out and he's, oh yeah, it's fine. It was just they didn't want to come, they didn't want to get arrested. And then that's it, he goes on. This would make a really good pilot if they cut it down. But for a full film, it's still good, but I don't know. There's not enough substance here for a full film. Well, there is, obviously, because we watched it, but there's bits and things.
But, I mean, it barely scrapes the feature length, kind of time limit.
That's right. Isn't it only like an hour and a half, something, just over?
Yeah, it's short,
yeah. I mean, if I'm going to it's still a good film. I've seen it a few times. I'll give it... Carl Urban really does play this character really well, so I'll give it a 7.
Yeah.
He's really into this role, and you can tell. He does the face really well, so... Which to other people, and the voice, in any other character, it would have been way over the top. But the voice and the face is so over the top, but it works really well because it's Judge Dredd, and he does it really well. So, yeah, I'll give it a 7, yeah.
I think this is the one where I'd be most echoing everyone else if I went on a long tangent. You've basically said it all. I like it. It could have been more. I think how close this movie got to being the movie it should have been is the kind of painful bit. There is stuff in here. It's not like it's devoid of where it should have been. The direction is great, and the potential for more is exciting. Would love to see the TV show if that ever happens. But yeah, no, you said it all already, and I think I'm more leaning towards... I'm going to give it a 6 based on the strength of Carl Urban's performance and the cool action sequences, and the rest of the points that it lost are unfortunately because of what it could have been, which gives us an overall score of 67.5 out of 100, which is another pretty common score. So, Amelia, Dredd or Shin Godzilla?
Dredd.
I thought we've just had these questions. What the fuck?
Dredd or Shin Godzilla? I think Shin Godzilla.
Joe?
Yeah, Dredd.
Dredd. I'm going to go with Shin Godzilla, which gives it host bias, which means it moves up the rank. Amelia, Dredd or I Am Legend?
Wait, which one did you vote for, Sam?
Shin Godzilla.
So it was a draw, so Shin Godzilla was better than Dredd.
Yes, it is. Fuck. I just kind of went on automatic then. I was like, oh, we usually have to go through them all. All right, cool. Shin Godzilla's better than Dredd. Which place is Dredd at the 24th greatest movie of all time, which puts it in the bottom 10.
Oh no!
Yeah, so it's one of the worser movies officially. So that brings us to the most important part of the show, and that's finding out what we're going to be watching next week. Amelia, let us know.
Yeah, so that lower 10 might be changing.
Ooh.
Right, so we spoke a couple episodes ago about how, our bottom lot of films, are pretty good films still. So obviously we've got the odd Digimon kind of movies down there that, we're not going to talk about. But I was kind of I wanted to pick something that to some people is utter shite, but to others it's good, and I'm in between, right? So okay. I thought you guys don't even have to watch this one if you don't, because I'll understand. But I feel like we could have a right old natter and moan and complain about this film. And this one is, I'm gonna dedicate this one to one of our viewers. They know who they are. I want you guys to watch the first Twilight film.
Oh no!
Oh.
So get ready to have a good old rant. Let's do a bad film for once.
Man, that movie is one of the only movies I have ever fallen asleep in.
Oh wow!
Legit.
So I apologise, but I feel like we need some shite.
Okay.
Oh God.
Well, do you fucking feel the air that's been sucked out of 3 different rooms? So that was our episode on Dredd. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of the episode and Dredd in the comments down below. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, leave a rating on your favorite podcasting apps. You can find us on both YouTube and all those podcasting apps by searching for the Outtakes Movie Podcast. Follow us over on social media by searching for The Real Outtakes on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. And that's done. I always think there's a next bit. Fuck. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Twilight. Come on.
This is the first week that I actively don't want to watch the film.